Today we're taking a look at the Select controller from Hozelock. This controller has 16 inbuilt programs for you to choose from. It's ideal for micro irrigation and oscillating lawn sprinklers. Inside of the box, you'll first find this back section of the timer. This is the part that will connect to your tap, and you should also find that you've got a number of reducing washers here. That means that this can connect to 1 inch, 3/4 inch and 1/2 inch taps depending on your needs. At the bottom of this section we have a standard hose connector for connecting garden hoses out to sprinklers, or if you're attaching micro irrigation you may need to remove this by simply unscrewing, and then you'll have access to a 3/4 inch thread. In addition to the back section, you'll also have the front panel. This is where you're actually going to select the program that you need, but before we do that, you'll first need to install the batteries. This timer takes 2 AA batteries, which I have here. These are not supplied with the timer, so you will need to get these separately. And to fit them, just a simple case of popping them in the 2 ports here, clicking them into place. Once we've got our batteries installed, we'll need to connect the 2 pieces together. Now you'll see that there's these 2 ports on the front panel, as well as the 2 prongs on the inside of the back panel. Just want to line those up. When we click this together, the timer will open the valve after a few seconds, just to ensure that everything's working, and that's completely normal. Now that the valve has completed a rotation, the timer's ready to set up. We can go ahead and install this on the tap now at this point. That's usually best, as the timer will kickstart into action as soon as we set it on the front dial. To set up the Select controller, what you first want to do is you want to turn the dial around to this green section marked Start Time. Once in start time, we can go ahead and look at our options here and select which one we would like. In addition, if we'd like the watering to start on a delay, at this point we can press this little tap button at the bottom, and every time we do so we add an additional hour to our delay. Meaning, if I'm setting this up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't want to begin watering until 6 o'clock, I can turn it to start time, press this button, and then when I select my option, it will wait an hour before watering. In this case, I'm not going to use that feature, so I'm just going to select an option from our dial here, and I'd like to water for 30 minutes every 24 hours. So I make sure I'm on start time, and then I simply turn the dial to 30 within the 24-hour section. In a second it should open. And now the timer will water for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes is complete, the valve will now close, and then it will work on a 24-hour schedule, so in 24 hours time it will begin watering again. At this point the timer is ready to use. You can walk away and it will continue on that schedule. However, if you wanted to change the schedule it's on, you simply turn the dial back to start time and then select your new option. One thing worth mentioning with the Select controller is that the valve inside is mechanical, meaning there's a motor that turns it. This means it doesn't need pressure to open. This is ideal if you wanted to use the timer on, say, a water butt where there's not much pressure being generated. The Select controller is not suitable for winter use, and you will notice on the side there's a small icon to indicate this. That means once the summer watering season has come to an end, you will want to remove this from the tap, give it a good shake out and store it indoors, preferably somewhere heated. Garages and sheds still get very cold over the winter, and if there is any water left inside they could still freeze and cause damage. Be sure as well to pop off the front and remove the 2 batteries, replace with a new set the following year. If you find when you fit the timer that you're getting any leaking at the top here, this is fairly common with battery operated timers, and usually means that the tap is not making a good connection to the washer in the top. quick way to sort this out is to take an additional washer and stack it on top of the one that's already present. That means when you screw it onto the tap, the connection's made a lot sooner and there's a much tighter seal. If you find you're getting leaking at the bottom, the same could be said if you're using the thread. However, if you're using the hose connector, just make sure you have pulled back the sleeve on the female connector and pushed it all the way up. It may seem when you first push them on that they're all the way connected, but you might need to give it just an extra push just to make sure it's all the way up tight to the top. The Select timer also contains a water now feature which you can activate by simply pushing the tap button on the front. One quick tap should be more than enough. That will open up the timer off schedule and water for 60 minutes. If you would want to close it manually, all you need to do is just press that button once again and you should hear the motor close. If you're interested in the Select controller or any other controllers from Hozelock, you can find the full range on easygardenirrigation.co.uk, or if you have any other questions regarding the Hozelock products, feel free to get in touch with our team and we should be able to help you.